Most people are living on autopilot. They go to bed and they wake up in the morning doing the same thing every day with very little passion, fulfillment, or excitement. Our guest today is here to disrupt that concept completely. As the founder of Edwards Consulting and the host of the Own Your Hustle podcast, Jordan helps high performers align their actions with what actually matters, so they stop burning out and start leading with purpose. In this episode, we have a great conversation about clarity, habits, and how to build a life that's not just successful on paper, but that's also deeply aligned within. If you're done checking boxes, playing small, and you're ready to lead with intention and take yourself to the next level, you're in the right place. My name is Nada Nasserdeen, and welcome to the Rise Up For You podcast. Let's jump in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise Up For You podcast. This is your host, Nada Nasserdeen. And today we have another amazing guest. Please give it up wherever you are in the world, in the car, on the gym, to our guest today, Jordan Edwards. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Nada. How are you doing? Excited.
Very good. Very good. Remind me where you're from again, where we're calling in from.
I'm in Tampa, Florida currently.
Oh, Tampa, Florida. Okay, yes, one of the other great states in America. Well, thanks.
Not too bad. It's dwindling quickly.
Yes. Thanks for joining us today. It's an honor to have you. I know we have a lot to talk about. I specifically today in this podcast want to talk about accountability, goal setting, which I know is something that you do a lot with your clients. And it's something that we see as a big challenge for most individuals. But before we jump in, Jordan, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Jersey, came down to Florida for school, and I started to realize that we can create whatever life we want. And when I realized that, what ended up happening was I traveled to 27 different countries. I started a podcast where I've had the founder of Reebok on, billionaire Jeff Hoffman, and I've done over 200 plus episodes. And I do coaching with groups and one-on-one. And I've also ran 2 marathons. So I try to keep it interesting, fitness, or all the different pillars. But the main thing I want everyone to realize today is that we're going to touch on holistic knowledge, and we're going to work through it all so that we're able to actually achieve our goals that we're looking for, that we really struggle with each and every day.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to take it back a little bit further. So, Jordan, tell us who you were in high school. Like, who was Jordan growing up?
So in high school, I played lacrosse and football, and I really followed the patterns. Like, I followed what everybody else was doing. And the first big distinction was actually listening to my dad, because he said, Jordan, no matter what you do for college, because in high school, you're like, oh, I want to be a football player. I want to be a lacrosse player. I want to go play college sports. And what I ended up doing was I ended up looking in Florida. And that was my first big, step out of the zone, because most people where I grew up stayed in the Northeast. And then where do you think they lived afterwards? New York City. So by picking a destination over 1,000 miles away got me to really step into my authentic self, and allowed me, it was challenging, it was hard, it wasn't easy, but it allowed me to learn more about myself and what I enjoy and what I want to do, which allowed me to really learn about myself, which is what we're all trying to do here. We're all trying to learn about who we are, what we enjoy, and how we can create our own games in life, because we only have one life.
Well, I'm curious though for you, where did that self-awareness come from, right? Because when I listen to you talk, and you're fairly young, I'm going to assume, right? Where do you think that wisdom came from, or that self-awareness came from? Like, was there this big aha epiphany, or was it just you were raised, by great parents, and you slowly just started to become more aware and understand your circumstance, and you have ownership over it? Because I'll be honest with you, my team and I, we work with leaders and, organizations around the world. Most individuals have no idea how they're showing up and how to take ownership over their life. Just out of curiosity, where did you get that insight to know, like, hey, I can take ownership over my own decisions. I can create my path.
Yeah. So there were 2 things that occurred for me. One was learning about travel, and where I decided I could go on birthright, I could go on study abroad. My parents supported me. That was huge. And then another thing was realizing mentorship. I ended up meeting this mentor, Howard Gordon. He's about 50 years older than me, serial entrepreneur, been super successful in a lot of different areas. And we would meet during COVID, like the first weeks of COVID, every Sunday for like 2 or 3 hours on a phone call. And I would just take notes. And I was constantly learning. And what he would always say is that our biggest project is ourselves, learning who we are and what authentically makes who we want to be. And that's where I've gotten this real alignment of understanding, hey, that person might not be happy because they're not being their authentic selves. These people might not be happy because they're not stepping into what actually makes them happy. And I actually did a podcast this morning with Stephen Ridley, and he was actually talking about that, where he's like, you feel fear when you have something to lose.
Yeah.
You feel no fear when you're like, I'm unattached. And a lot of people in their jobs have zero fear because it's like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. It is what it is.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, especially about the mentorship part. I remember when I first started my business, I had mentors too. I had mentors on accident, like people that I just met out in networking. And then I also sought mentors just even through podcasts. Because I know sometimes when people hear mentor, they're like, well, I can't afford to get a coach or a mentor, or, people are too busy. There's all these excuses that we make. But even listening to podcasts, watching YouTubes, you can learn so much and really start to understand who you are. Something that you're saying that's really important is this idea of clarity and who you are and values. And
Yes.
I think you are spot on that unfortunately, many of us don't take the time to clarify who we are, what's important in our life, and what our top values are. And if we
Yes.
do take the time to clarify it, oftentimes we don't have the courage to be in alignment with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we break our values and we break, what we really want constantly in an effort to try to pursue something that we don't actually really want. And then we get there and it's like this whole process of
Disappointing. Yes.
I got to start over again. And so I think what you're saying is so important because I do see that it creates a lot of frustration in individuals and also prevents them from reaching their goals because they choose goals that actually don't fit really
You can't
matters
win.
deep down
There's no
inside.
win. Yeah, there's no
There's no
win scenario.
sustainability to it. So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about, like how you made this transition. You went to college. Now today, obviously, you're a podcaster, you're creating influence, you're working with clients. Like, how did you make that shift and decide that like this is the route I'm going to take?
Yeah, so for me, experience game, it's been testing. And so like for the podcast, for example, I was doing, have you ever heard of 75 hard? Do you know what
That's
75
yeah,
hard
that's
is?
like the 75 days of like working out.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
exactly. So it's 2 workouts a day, no drinking, none of that, reading a book, and just personal development stuff. So it was me and my buddy Franz, and we were in this, we were both doing 75 hard, and he was like, hey, I think we should go to the Naples airplane show. And I was like, okay, it's on a Saturday. Why not? Like, it makes sense to kind of remove ourselves from the current situation we're in. We want to get around better people. So we went to this show. And what ended up happening was because I left space and because I was in a challenge, it allowed me to open up my eyes on what's possible.
Yeah.
And I ended up meeting this guy, Wayne Ogden Smith, and he was a prisoner of war for 7 years. And I met him at the Naples airport. And he told me about how he was a prisoner of war. And in that moment, I go, I have a podcast. Like, you should be on it. I didn't have a podcast at the time. I stepped into it because as you were speaking, you mentioned, hey, I use my podcast as mentorship. That has been the same truth for me for the past 4 or 5 years. I've realized that every time I'm on a podcast or I have a podcast, I'm literally getting a free coaching session. And it is
100%.
the biggest hack. It is the biggest hack. It cuts the line to whatever you want to do. It gets the most influential person, and you get to speak with them on a like kind of a relaxed basis where it's not too much, not too formal, not too, hey, I'm pitching you on something, but
Yep,
you
yep.
build deep rapport with people.
Yeah. So alongside that, I want to jump into, I know you talk a lot about like measurability, being able to like
Yes.
reach your goals and achieve the success that you want. And I think it goes right in alignment with what we're saying is that most people know what to do. Right. If you study the most successful people in the world from a holistic level, and when I mean
Yeah.
successful people, I mean like happy, healthy, wealthy, sexy, right? Like they're
Yeah.
doing great in the world, they're healthy, they spend time with family, like they're not insular in their success. If you study these people, you'll see that they all pretty much do the same thing, right? Like
Yes.
there's routine, they hang out with certain people, like they wire their mind, there's behaviors that they practice every day. But yet most people, even though they know what to do, they just have a hard time doing it. And that's why only 8% of the population actually reach their goals, specifically in North America. And the
Yes.
other like 92% never reach the goals that they set for themselves. So, based off of all that, when you're working with your clients, how do you teach them to take accountability so that they can reach their goals, but actually create goals that they can measure, that are smart, that they can
Yes.
attain, that are engaging, but not too difficult that they lose sight? Like, what's the process that you do for that?
Absolutely. So, pretty much what ended up happening when I started Edwards Consulting, I realized I was helping people with financial literacy. And I realized if you want to talk to people about financial literacy, you got to get them on you got to build emotional rapport. So, the way I did that is I started this, and the audience can take this. It's basically we look at your life in 5 years, then we look at your life in 1 year, then we touch on your mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. And we see where you're at today and then what a 10 looks like in that area.
Yeah.
So, example, mental health would be, hey, where are you at today? And you would be like, I'm at a 5 because of this, this, and this. What does a 10 look like? And we set the 10 so that we know when we're winning. Because as we know, oh, my goal was to make $100,000. Now it's $1 million. Now it's 10. And you just keep pushing these goals when the first goal should have made you happy, but you keep pushing on. So the way we set these goals is basically we take inventory of where we're at with the 5 pillars, and then we come up with 3 to 5 12-week goals for us. And then inside of those 12-week goals, you make goals for the week. So it's goals for the week into the 12-week goal, into the 1 year vision, into the 5 year vision. I share this, for example, one of your goals might be I want to run a marathon. Cool, in 1 year. Nice. So the 12-week goal might be run 5 miles, you know what I mean? Or run 5 miles a week. And then the weekly goal would be maybe you run those 5 miles each and every week and then hold yourself accountable. Or you get a coach or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or someone to help you. And that's really what it comes down to is you need that big North Star that's pulling you, but you need to break it down into weekly action steps. So if you guys want to repeat that and write that all down, this will help you drastically.
Yeah, and I love it. We have something called the 6 pillars to success here, which is, some similarities. It's the same thing, right? It's like measuring yourself 1 through 10 because you have to understand where you are. And it's not about shame and it's not about like feeling sorry for yourself. Oh, I gave myself a 4 in health. But it's just understanding where you are so that you can see the measurable success that you have achieved. And I think that it's having these important conversations with ourselves so that you can build a life that you're proud of. Because I'm pretty sure, Jordan, that you and I are on the same page that like I come from the belief that you can have it all. But you gotta prep and prepare and execute and plan in order to have it all. Just like we prepare for meetings at work, just like we put things on the calendar. If you want to build a life where, you're healthy, you're happy, you're making an impact, you're making money, you're spending time with family, all those things are really possible. But I really love what you were mentioning earlier is that we as individuals have to take ownership over the fact that we can create that life and then put these little systems in play in your assessment that they can take to understand where am I now? And what does success look like for me in a year? And then what are little baby steps that I have to take along the way to help me get there?
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, if we don't take inventory on where we're at, we're not going to change. And if we don't change our habits, nothing will change. And so it's so important for us. Even just changing one habit can change the entirety of your life. And I
Yep.
think the biggest habit to me, and I'm curious what you think, the biggest habit I think that will change everything is going to bed at like 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Because if you won't have any bad problems. Nothing bad will happen.
Well, I will confess that ever since I was young, I get anywhere between 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night. I am in bed by 9:15 every day, and I typically wake up between 5 and 6 o'clock,
It
depending
makes
on
a
like the season.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, primarily it's because, when you think about it, especially those that have kids, that have families, when you wake up, the household wakes up with you, and so there's
Yeah.
usually a lot of things that are happening. And so I think it's really important to understand like where can you create your me time? because the me
Yes.
time is kind of like what sets you for the day. And so
Yes.
I know for me, like I love going to bed early and waking up early because I'm usually up before everybody else. And then I have like that 90 minutes or that 2 hours where I'm drinking my coffee, I'm reading my book, I'm relaxing, I'm praying. I'm like setting my space and my energetic zone for the day so that I can go out and crush it. If I
Yes.
wake up for some reason and I'm like, all of a sudden jumping in and like doing all these things, then my whole day is like that. It's like frazzled and it's completely off. And so I echo, I think sleep is so important because, especially in our industry, Jordan, where we're constantly working with people, right? We're in front of people.
Yeah.
And those of you that are listening, I know we have a lot of people that listen to the podcast that are, in politics and they run companies. Like you are constantly on. It's not a good or bad thing. You're just constantly on, right? You're in the
100% off.
limelight. People are watching you in the community and your company. And so that sleep is critical for you to like show up and be your best self.
Absolutely. The thing is that when you start to prioritize yourself, you start to take control of how you're living and how you're showing up for things.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are so inundated with our life. And I call this the zoom in, zoom out method. We're zooming in. We're in the podcast right now. This is zooming in. Zooming out is the planning session of like, hey, how do you want this podcast to go? How do you think about this? How do you want to do this? Zooming out even further is, hey, do we even want to do a podcast? And most people don't lift their heads up and they go, wait, do I even want to be doing what I'm doing right now? Do I think this makes sense? Does it not make sense? And you can't have that in the middle of the day, but you should give yourself some time each week to go, hey, is there something I want to adjust? Is there something I want to change? Am I doing this correctly? Am I working towards the goals that I want to be?
Yeah.
Because we get knocked off very, very quickly.
100%. I love that. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great conversation. I want to jump into the power section of the interview and ask you some rapid fire questions.
Shoot, let's do it.
All right. So we always ask if you were to leave the world with one final message, we call it our golden nugget here at Rise Up for you. What would your golden nugget?
My golden nugget is that you can create the life you desire and don't ever stop dreaming because maybe you're 50 years old or 60. Don't ever stop dreaming.
I love that. Here at Rise Up for You, we talk a lot about the skills that help you build success, which is like self-confidence, emotional intelligence, leadership, and influential communication. Self-confidence, we find, is one of the biggest challenges for people. So if you were to rate yourself 1 through 10 in self-confidence, 10 being amazing, out of this world, 1 being danger zone, what would you give yourself today?
Today, probably an 8. I feel like I'm really stepping into it. The reason I say that is because self-confidence comes from doing what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
And the more often we do that, the more confident we get. And I've just had a very interesting day. So it's me.
I love that. I love that. I have one more question for you, but before I ask, tell the audience all about where we can find you, your website, your podcast, all the good things.
Yeah, absolutely. So the podcast is hashtag clocked in with Jordan Edwards. And you guys can honestly shoot me an email. It's jordan@edwards.consulting. And if you say you're coming from Rise Up for You, then we'll give you a complimentary coaching session.
I love
And I
that.
would love to do that and we can schedule that. And that's also on the website, edwards.consulting. So I look forward to connecting with you all.
Thank you, Jordan. And as you know, everyone, we are huge fans of coaching. So take advantage of that coaching session. It's only going to help you get to that next level. I have 3 coaches and we coach here at Rise Up for You, right? So take advantage, Jordan. Thank you for offering that to our audience. And a final question for you is, as you know, we're the company Rise Up for You. What comes to mind when you hear that phrase?
I've had a moment where basically there's people have a hand up and a hand down, and it's like a river. And when I think of Rise Up for You, it's showing that you can reach down and reach up, and it will show you that there's knowledge constantly transferring between all of us, and we can always help down and we can always be helped up. So that's what I think of when I think of Rise Up for You.
I love that. I've never heard that before. I really, really like that. Thank you for sharing that. Jordan, it's been really awesome having you on our show today.
Absolutely appreciate it. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining the Rise Up For You podcast. Again, this is your host, Nada Nasserdeen. Every single week, we are bringing amazing thought leaders, experts, entrepreneurs from around the world to help you be your absolute best. I will see you on the next episode. And don't forget to subscribe. Jordan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and check us out on social media. We are everywhere, from LinkedIn to Instagram to Facebook, at our simple handle at Rise Up For You. On every single platform, it's exactly the same. And we're providing new content on every single platform, so there's something different everywhere. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, and connect with us on social media. I'll see you next time.